freaking first cut. Golly. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your round 3 recap for this week's 3M Open. Joining me to break it all down, Mark Immelman is here. It's good to see you, Mark.
What's up, Rick? So I'm in the Central Time Zone, and you in Pacific. What's it? You're Hawaiian Standard Time, wherever you are, right?
Time, yeah, HST. It is 15 minutes past noon here right now.
and I'm dressed appropriately for the Midwest, and you got your Hawaiian look going on. I mean, you're all in character.
Yes, we are doing it right, and I want to talk to you about everything that went down at the 3M Open today. There was a lot happening, so let's jump right on into this. And Mark, I'm going to start you with some of these early movers here, guys that significantly improved their positions on the leaderboard. And we're going to start with a pair of 65s. The first one comes from Taylor Moore, who was bogey free, though he did not really take advantage of the par fives. He only played those in 1 under, and Moore's a winner on the PGA Tour, Mark, but he has got work to do if he wants to get himself deep into the playoffs for this year, like many of these guys with just now a start and a round to go in the season.
Yeah, well, look, first off, with regard to the round, it was sort of more of the same, what we'd seen for the first couple rounds, where the morning guys would have the advantage, and then the breeze certainly did freshen in the afternoon. I mean, when I was on the 18th to bring Maverick McNealy in, it was pumping out there. So it was in the morning with some receptive good greens. The PGA Tour staff, in advance of the weather conditions, didn't mow the greens, double mow them like they ordinarily would. They only gave them a single cut. The greens were rolling at about 12, which was about a half foot slower than they did in rounds 1 and 2. So they sort of prepared with some easier hole locations, slightly slower greens today for the winds we were going to get this afternoon. So if you got out this morning and you put the ball in off the tee, you could make some hay. And Taylor Moore is one of those characters where he's kind of always around. 3 rounds would be great, and then he just finds a way to spend it somehow. But you're right, it's coming close to reckoning time now, and everybody knows it. You can feel kind of the sense in the air a little bit, because next week's the Olympics, golf, and then it's the final one of the season. So for a Taylor Moore and for a few others, and Andrew Putnam jumps to mind, it's time to really shine. And that was a good way for him to start, because the forecast for tomorrow is not much better. So if you can get out early and post something, who knows?
Well, the day of reckoning coming for Ben Kohles, who entered the week 80th in the FedEx Cup standings. Now, thanks to a Saturday 65, he is currently in 78th. That 65 mark was marred by just one blemish on the card. It was a bogey on the par 4 7th, and he closed with a flurry, birdies at 10, 12, 14, 17, and 18. So while he moves up 39 spots on the leaderboard today, he moves up 2 spots in the FedEx Cup standing. So still more work to do, but Ben Kohles has started to play a lot better this time of year.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy you would expect to sort of play well around a golf course like this, because he's accurate. He's a sound ball striker. In blustery conditions, you have to hit the ball squarely to really control not just direction, but distance especially. And so you'd think he would find a way to thrive. But it's also, there's that immeasurable when it comes down to this time of the season. Everyone's feeling it. Everyone's a little nervy. And it's just the guy who can sort of collect themselves and hit the right shot at the right time. He's proven he can. He had a shot to win in Dallas earlier this year and came up shy on the final hole to Taylor Pendrith. So maybe this is the time where he does turn it around and sort of turns things in his favor. But suffice to say that if you had to say to me, Ben Kohles, chance of making it, I would say, yeah, I'm going to go with that, just because of the way he plays. He plays from the fairway and hits the ball quite solidly.
Yeah, still plenty of holes left, but time is running out, and I hate to get to this next one, Mark, because a Saturday 65 for Cameron Davis, who is your one and done selection for this week, and he did it in bunches. So he birdies 4 and 5, 12, 13, and 14. So a lot of consecutive birdies there, and he got off to a good start with a birdie on number 1 as well. He moves up into a tie for 6th. He's trying to do work for you. He's trying to get you a nice little payday, and he's at least in position to have a nice Sunday.
And isn't this curious? Because on this very show last night, I said to Patrick, I was like Rory McIlroy, who in his post-round comments at the Open said, after the 8 I made, I was basically thinking of my vacation next week. And I'd sort of looked at this going, after the Fleetwood miscut last week, I'm like, screw it. I'm done with this one and done. And Patrick's like, he talked me off the ledge a bit. And thankfully, Cameron came through because, look, there's a lot to play for still. He is the kind of guy that has the firepower to go and get it tomorrow, because where he is in the field, it's going to take something in the mid to low 60s, even though it's going to be blustery. He's long enough, he's accurate enough, and he's swinging freely. And just a reminder, he was a guy who was playing horribly. And then he started working on self-hypnosis, amongst other things, just to free himself up. So clearly there's a little something in this. And so he's found kind of that rich vein of form. So confidence, a little clarity, great golf swing, making putts when he needs to. It's pulling off a second victory is still very much in the offing for Cam Davis.
Yeah, remember, just fresh off that win a couple of starts ago for Davis. And the round of the day, the number 63, that's 8 under par around TPC Twin Cities. The earliest 63 that we got, Mark, was from Patrick Fishburn, and he can move it off the tee. He's an absolute crusher. He birdies 1, eagles 6, and birdies 7 before having a 2-pencil second 9 with 5 more birdies and 1 bogey on that side. He improves his position all the way up to T4 and moves his projected FedEx Cup standing position to 96th.
I can't remember where it was when I watched him play. It may have been Olympia Fields last year in the BMW. You got the numbers in front of you, but he was in contention on Saturday. And so I went and watched him hit because I'd never seen him play. And this guy, he's big, he's burly, kind of looks like a linebacker a little bit. He's fast, man, and he hits it hard. And they leave, to your point, in a hurry. And I was like, whoa, this is another one of these kids that has just got so much game, and all they need is that 1 week. And he didn't pull it off then, but he's put himself into contention. And he said to our Amanda Balionis, he fiddled around, he's changed putters, he was driving it so badly, he's changed the loft setting on the driver, and it's all working out to the tune of 63 today, and a very late tee time tomorrow. So maybe the experience he learned late last season will stand him in good stead. But look, if I'm Patrick Fishburn, it's easy to say right now because we are pining. And it's easier for his team, the folks around him, to say, hey, Patrick, you got nothing to lose, bro. Just go and let it go. You have a chance to win. But somewhere always you get there and you get to thinking about the thing a bit too much, and then you slow yourself down, or you head.
I think we lost him. I was wondering, Josh, if that was me or him. If that was Mark, we lost. Okay, so throw me up full. Let's see if we can figure this out here. So, all right, there we go. All right, so we lost Mark. We're both in hotels. I could not tell if it was him or me. But what we will do is we will see if we can get him back. If not, I will take you through the afternoon wave and the top of the leaderboard after a quick word from our partners. And we're back. We've got Mark back. And Mark, I didn't know if it was you or me. We're both in hotels. I thought, it drops out all the time. I thought it was my problem, but we've got it rectified.
Yeah, I hope it's not on mine. I will tell you, I've got a fantastic view of the Mississippi and Target Field out here. So I'm high enough in the air from the 27th floor that so I should be good. So no, but it's. I thought it was me. I'm hoping it wasn't.
Well, we'll get through this. And it wasn't all roses and unicorns for everybody in the afternoon, because Taylor Pendrith, who was our overnight leader, Mark, shot a 2 over 73. This was a little tough. It was a lot of bogeys on the front. He made a double on number 11. Pendrith, who has already had such a great year, trying to solidify his spot in the FedEx Cup playoffs, plus potentially a spot on that President's Cup team in just a few weeks here. This was not the Saturday he was looking for.
No, and I don't know if you saw the show, but yesterday when we wrapped, Patrick and I, we looked at the lines from Vegas, and DraftKings had him at like some ridiculous number, like plus 280 to win with 2 rounds left. Now, they were seeing obviously a lot, but the reality of it is it's really hard to win, even for someone as gifted as Taylor. There's just a lot of golf. Every golf hole is riddled with peril. And this is not even bearing in mind what's going on inside one's head. And the thing about but Taylor, that golf swing of his is big, it's athletic, it's fast. But with all the stuff that's going on, if sequencing goes as hard as he hits it, he can hit it offline fairly fast. And under the difficult conditions today, if you start spinning balls up in the breeze and then putting gets hard because you're getting blown about the place, that sort of stuff happens quickly. And then it starts snowballing if you're in contention, because all of a sudden you go from feeling invincible and the fall is precipitous. So look, I don't wish it on my worst enemy. You'd rather be there and falling down the leaderboard than falling down the leaderboard on Friday and having the weekend off. I would expect he'd bounce back tomorrow because he is playing well and there's a lot of confidence, but it's the worst thing to have happen. And like I said, with that golf swing of his, it is kind of timing dependent. And I feel like under the conditions today, that may have been exacerbated.
Well, let's look at the good rounds. And we've got 3 more 63s, and they currently reside in position 1 on the leaderboard, position 2 on the leaderboard, and position 3 on the leaderboard. All solo, no ties necessary. And we'll start at 3rd, or the bronze position, since we are in the Olympics timetable right now. Thank you much. Maverick McNealy shot an 8 under 63 with a bogey on the card mark. That came on the par 3 13th, but he finished with 3 birdies over his final 4 holes. Healthy in 2024. The game is really coming around. He seems confident. He seems ready to rock and roll.
I had the call. It was beautiful to watch. It was easy. The bogey you talk about on 13, he can move it off the tee. He's a strong guy, Maverick. And the hole was playing 215 uphill a few, wind sort of quartering in off the right, some back hole location. There's a big front bunker on the right, probably 205 to carry that. And Maverick went with 4-iron. And if you get a 4-iron drawing on that wind, then it's going to go too far. And I feel like he was trying to cut the 4 up against the breeze, turned it some, blasted it over the back of the green. Nothing from there turns into a bogey. But then bounces right back with a few 3s in a row. And I just looked at it around. It was awfully easy. And down the 18th, he hits this drive down the right side with water there, and the wind's off the left. And Jim Nance sets it up, and when he hits it, I'm like, wow, this is a brave line here with a left to right wind. And it held the breeze, and he had 6-iron in there from the fairway. And I never forget walking down the fairway, my spotter, Craig, comes to me and he goes, how's that line off the tee? And I'm like, yeah, it was nuts. And then Craig goes, he says, well, if you know where it's going, you may as well just aim it down there, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. I'm like, heck yeah. And then I said to him, you're right. It's Saturday afternoon. You may as well. He turns it into a birdie for 63. Absolutely beautiful round. Didn't do anything wrong bar the bogey, which was a missed club, I thought. And he looks like he's got more in him. And he certainly has the experience now because he's been around the block. So if it's ever his time, I feel like it's his time tomorrow.
Yeah, trending, looking good, feeling good, and sits at 14 under par. One shot better is Matt Kuchar, who had a heck of a day. Not only did he tie the low round of the day, he had a stretch where he made 4 birdies in a row. He also made a double, and he also, Mark, chipped in on the final hole to make eagle. So a full day for Matt Kuchar, who is looking to get back in the winner's circle for the first time in quite some time, and he's positioned himself just 1 shot behind the leader.
Yeah, he's a case for the point that I made last night. In fact, when Dottie and I arrived here Friday morning and looked at the golf course again, it's a place where you know you got to score low to win and to contend. But we got there, and you drive out your compound, and you drive into the side of the 13th hole, the par 4 around the water. Pardon me, 16, 15, 14th hole. And we looked at the rough. I'm like, holy cow. And she goes, I wasn't here last year. Was it like this? And I'm like, no. And the more we drove around, the more we were like, wow, the rough is heavy on either side of the fairway. And the fairways are playing wider because they're not rolling out that much. But you have to drive the ball in the fairway. And so as a result, you've seen this mixture on the leaderboard of bombers. And then you've seen the accurate guys like a Kuchar sort of come to the fore. So I just think it's cool to see him playing well. He's still evergreen, man. He hits the ball really flush. And he knows what the ball's going to do, and he plays from the fairway. So he's going to take a lot of beating tomorrow. He's just that experienced, and he's that qualified. So as far as the contenders are going, Johnny Vegas cuts a pretty ominous figure, but I think folks have to stay in front of Kuchar just because he's a veteran who knows what he's doing when the pressure is up.
That last PGA Tour victory came in 2019 at the Sony Open. So just as the calendar turned to 2019 for Kuchar, and he, along with Maverick McNealy and everybody else, Mark, are chasing Johnny Vegas. He had that final 63, and he did the vast majority of his damage on the back nine. A pair of birdies at 11 and 12, a pair at 14 and 15, a pair at 17 and 18. Good things come in two for Johnny Vegas, and he now positions himself as the 54-hole leader. And if he could pull it off, if he pulls off the win, Mark, he moves from 149th in the FedEx Cup standings to 67th.
Yeah, and in the playoffs. I'm going to pat myself on the back, right? Art Durazo, if you're listening to this, I hope you are. Look at me right now. Art and I, the whole year, have had a friendly five. We do this from the first round of the year, every round, and he picks a player and I pick a player for five. And I won the first round here, and I won the second round, and he sends me a nasty gram last night, and he goes, all right, I'm taking Woodland. Who you got? And I go, I'll have Johnny Vegas. And his response to me was like, are you serious? Because you're kidding. I'm like, no, Vegas. And I'll tell you why I went with him. Because the forecast said it was going to be blustery. And when the winds are kind of capricious and unpredictable, you have to hit the ball flush. And with the angle that the wind was on today, a lot of the difficult holes were kind of cutting into winds that were coming in and off the left. So really awkward. And if there's anyone who hits the ball flush, it's this dude. I mean, it's on the show that, maybe last year at the Honda Classic, he hit this 3-iron on the last hole. It was one of the greatest shots I've ever seen off a downhill lie to about 20 feet. Just because he hits it that good. And I've watched the numbers trending a little bit, and he looks like he's healthy. So I was like, yeah, let's go with Johnny Vegas. So I turn around, I see he's a few under early, and all of a sudden, the next thing I look around and he's birdied the last few holes for 63. And not to say I wasn't surprised. I was surprised he shot 63, but I was expecting him to do something in the 60s. So I think it's just such a cool story because this golf course to me gives off almost Canada vibes in a way. If you get out of Toronto into kind of the flat area there, a lot of the golf courses look very similar to this one. Sort of rolling hills, expansive, rough, bent grass everywhere. And he's won twice in Canada. And so I feel like the climate, everything up here sort of fits what he likes. And so, look, it would be an awesome story for a guy on a major medical exemption to come around here, win,
and get himself a job, is what I imagine Mark was probably going to say there, and solidify that job. The reason that Mark mentioned Canada, that's not only the most recent win for Johnny Vegas, 2017 Canadian Open, but also the 2016 Canadian Open as well. And the late flurry was true because Vegas stood on the 11th tee box, just 2 under par before he went nuts. So that is Johnny Vegas in at 16 under par, 1 shot back. Matt Kuchar at 15 under, and Maverick McNealy at 14 under. Mark, we're going to look at the betting odds, and Josh is going to pull those up right now and see what Vegas thinks about Vegas. And they think that is the favorite at plus 135 to get the job done. Matt Kuchar at plus 320. Maverick McNealy at 4-1. So kind of a three-headed monster at the top of the board. And then if you want to go a bit deeper than that, Sahith Theegala is here at 10-1. Patrick Fishburn is 18, and everybody else is 22-1 or longer here, Mark.
Rick, you're the expert when it comes to this stuff. How on earth? Now, Jhonattan Vegas is talented, right? But plus 135 to win with all those guys in close behind him on a golf course where stuff is volatile. Good golly, what are people thinking out there right now?
It's not going to get my money, Mark. Yeah, I agree with you. This is we saw it with Taylor Pendrith. We see it with a lot of guys. There's trouble lurking everywhere. 18 holes in a one-shot lead is nothing on the PGA Tour. All of these guys behind him have the firepower. So Vegas might win this, but it's not going to be with my investment at plus 135.
No, I would say if I'm looking at money that may be worthwhile, I mean, Sahith you'd like, but that's still a bit short. I mean, I'm thinking Cam Davis at plus 2,200 is a worthwhile flutter. Now, is it likely? It's unlikely, but there's more bang for your buck as far as I'm concerned there.
Yeah, so I'll break it down like this. You've got, if you want to go for guys at the top of the board, I like McNealy. He's 4-1, but you're right. I still like. I think Cam Davis is pretty live at 22-1. That would be where I would be going here. One final thing, Mark. I know you're into the biorhythms and the biomechanics here. Yeah. Johnny Vegas's last two victories, July 24th, July 30th. Tomorrow is July 28th. So he could have 3 wins in a 6-day window on the calendar.
Right. You've helped me make my pick against Art for tomorrow. I'm going with Johnny Vegas. This stuff is real. I'll never forget speaking with a nutritionist who introduced me to biorhythms. And she said, she goes, when a player is on a physical low with a biorhythm, they can get past that. But when they're on mental lows, then it's really hard for them to get by it. But when you have those times, and it seems to trend, it's like a wave that goes up and down. When the physical and the mental are both at peaks, that's when these guys make their hay. And clearly, this is kind of Johnny's time of the year. So maybe it's worth a bit of a flutter.
The last week of July is the week of Johnny Vegas. We will see if he can get the job done. We'll be back to break it all down after the conclusion of 3M Open and look ahead to the Olympics. For now, producer Josh does all the hard work behind the scenes. Thank you very much. And Mark Immelman is available at Mark_Immelman. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.